Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to the 17th edition of the Emirates NBD Global Business Series, a one-of-its-kind initiative by the Intelligent SME that seeks to inspire entrepreneurs and executives with profound insights from the most successful leaders in the region. We acknowledge that this success wouldn't have been possible without the consistent support of our partners, sponsors, and well-wishers. A heartfelt thank you to our title sponsors, Emirates NBD Business Banking, our sole automobile partner for this series, Al Futtaim Toyota. Lastly, our strategic alliance partners, Dubai SME. And before we start this session, let me tell you that the SBI Group would be hosting the biggest congregation for SMEs in the region, SME World Summit, on March 18th and 19th at the Jumeirah Beach Hotel. We request you to join us in the grand celebration of entrepreneurship by registering yourselves. Log on to smeworld.ae for further information. And without much ado, let's kickstart the felicitation ceremony. Could I please request Mr. Bindroo, our guest of honor for today, to come on the dais, please? May I request Vikas Thapar, CEO of Emirates Money and Head of Business Banking, Emirates NBD, to come on the stage and do the honors. Thank you so much, sir. Our moderator for this evening is Tariq Qureshi. He is the founder and CEO of Vantage Holdings. He's also the media representative and advisor for Bloomberg TV and multimedia in Middle East. Tariq's media and broadcast experience includes radio, TV, print, speaker, panelist, and moderating specialized conferences internationally. And before I hand over to Tariq, I would like to tell you that we would be live tweeting the highlights of this event using the hashtag GBS_insights. Request you to use the same handle and share the pearls of wisdom you've learned tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? Beautiful evening outside, lovely gathering of people here. Thank you very much for coming to this special occasion. We have been doing this for about 18 months, and we've had some amazing people come through these doors. We've had rags to riches stories. We've had people in tears not because they were sad, but because they were happy. They were rejoicing their emotions and all of their achievements. These sessions have been about inspiration. And today, we have with us a very special person, very understated, very quiet in his own way. But what an amazing set of achievements has he had in his life. Today, we will be celebrating that. But there's a little twist today. And the twist is that Ajay Bindroo has been kind enough to share some of his secrets. That secret sauce that takes a hardworking young man to greatness. That is what we're talking about today. And a lot of people here today, in their lives, perhaps encounter exactly the same emotion. What do I need to do to take that leap forward? What is that missing link? What is that gap? What's the formula? Today, we will talk about Ajay's formula. And all the learnings that we have from there, we can then impart in our day-to-day lives. That's what today is about. So let's give a big hand to Ajay Bindroo, our guest.
Thank you. Rather just sitting here.
Absolutely.
First of all, thank you very much, Tariq. Sean, thank you for giving me an opportunity and inviting me here. I thank Emirates NBD and other sponsors. What you guys are doing is really for a great cause, because I think, before we start, I came in this country in 1993. I think I was 20-year-old at that time. And I didn't know that I will live till now more than half of my life here. But people like us and people who want to be entrepreneurs or who want to set up the small businesses and have big dreams, I don't think after traveling 160 odd countries in my life in the last 22 years, there's any other country which can give you that platform. That's 100% sure. Because what you can do here, if you're not successful here, you can't do anywhere else. The whole credit goes to the visionary, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed. I think the way he has led this country, it is remarkable. I mean, I just cannot believe it. The way we used to travel, 20 years before to the world, and how we had to explain what Dubai means. And today, when you are any part of the world, they tell you what Dubai is, and they want to jump on you and they think, can you invite us there? I have seen this change in my life, and I have gratitude. I mean, it is basically we owe, and personally me, to a lot to this country, which has given us this platform, and that's why we have built our life. I just wanted to, in fact,
thank you. Thank you very
start
much.
with that.
Thank you very much for that. So just to set the tone, one of the things I have discovered in these 17 amazing people that we've encountered, that behind every great man, there is an even greater woman. So we'd like to welcome Madhvi here, his wife, who's been your partner from the very beginning. Thank you for coming, and it's lovely for them to be together here, because it is about celebration of family and emotion and our values. And they're two beautiful sons, they're twins, 9-year-old twins. Unfortunately, they couldn't come here today. They were sleeping, and they didn't want to go to Dad's boring event. They wanted to stay at home.
As you said, they said lecture, but,
So, okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Big hand to Madhvi. Tell us about your early days. Kashmir, beautiful scenery, having fun there, flowers, trees, fruits. What are you doing here?
It's still a dream, I think. I mean, I still feel I'm at that, 25 years when we left that place. It just dream, and still I'm sleeping. I lived 17 years of my life. I still say, after again looking most beautiful places in the world, I think Kashmir still remains at number one. I think one of the beautiful places, and we obviously when we were there, and it is heaven on earth. But yes, I mean, due to some circumstances, we had to leave the place, and that was 1989 when I was in school, and I used to, being the elder son in the family, and my dad was the only son, so I used to help him, though my teachers, my relatives around never wanted to see that, because coming from a Kashmiri Pandit background, the only thing what our parents wanted to see us is either you become a doctor or an engineer. You can't be a businessman even if you're a businessman's son. But I don't think that applied on me since I think when I was 11, 12-year-old. I still used to jump on his whatever business he was doing and put my brains there and look at what he is doing and suggest him. But most of the time he was not taking it, but whenever he took it, he saw a quick result of that. So in a way he was happy, but at the same time, at some point of time in his heart was, he can't be an engineer then, or he cannot be a doctor then. So that's how we have lived our life. But great time, but very unfortunate, unfortunate that we had to leave the place, and then life changed for us. As in India, we are still called migrants in our own country, but that's life. I think one has to live with that, and we moved on. And I think today, I will proudly say that even a community which had to go through the terrible times, we have done well in the last 25 years. I think we have done well, and I think we are all over the world. So maybe in a way, it was not good what happened with the community, but maybe it was blessing for us who moved on and created many histories not in India, but in the world.
You moved to Delhi from there. I mean, from a beautiful environment, you came to a really busy, crazy city. What did you go through, and how did you adapt to a new environment like that?
I mean, just imagine we had never seen a temperature going more than 30 degrees. imagine we coming to Delhi and then staying in summer 45 without the air condition. I mean, obviously, those were early days for us. Yeah, but the connection with Delhi was because we had, my dad was in apple orchard. I mean, we had our own apple orchard. So we had our own farming business. Because when you farm and the apples are, you have to go to sell them to Delhi every year. So that was the connect, and so we started a little bit whatever we could do in Delhi business. And while I was finishing my studies, and that's the Delhi connection. But that was only 2 years, and then the life changed for completely different. So I was, in fact, in 2 years after living there, I just left India.
Okay. And you came here straight away?
No. After finishing my graduation, which was part done in Kashmir, part in here, so whole education system was completely a little bit of funny because you went from state to capital, and a person like me who had done first year of graduation in the J&K University, so no one could give me an admission here, so we had to do typically called correspondence.
Okay.
But somehow, yeah, I wanted to have a tag that at least I'm a graduate before I do something else. Though my dad pushed me, in fact, it's connected with my wife. I still remember he gave me, after I passed my 10+2 in, after we migrated in 90, and he said, why don't you go and do engineering? So I still remember he gave me 80,000 rupees and sent me to Bangalore. That used to be the other place for us to go to, because there were more than 52 engineering colleges there. The donation was very, very small in terms of, I mean, the Bangalore college is accepting me. Moved on to the Karnataka, and I landed up in Belgaum, where my wife is from. Got an admission, paid the money. In a month's time, I didn't like it. I felt at some point of time I'm not doing justice with myself or with my family, or maybe, it was not where I wanted to be. In a month's time, actually, I went to the principal of the school and the college, and I said, can I get back to my family back, because I don't think I can take it. He said, but you have already given, you have paid the fee. I said, it's a request from me, if you can give me the money, whatever you can take, but give me the money back, because I felt that money that would have taken care of my family for some more time, rather me spending that on education. Because when you leave a place in 24 hours without anything, so what you have, you may be having, we had a huge house or whatever, and our orchard, it was all there. So you're talking about a survival. So consciously, I was not very comfortable when I started engineering, and I went back. And he actually looked at me and he said, it's fine, tomorrow you come to my office, I'll tell my cashier to pay it back and you can head back. So when I came back, my parents were very unhappy. They didn't speak to me at least 6 months. They didn't speak to me. They were so furious that they said, forget that, you have actually spoiled your career. Okay. And then I joined in, whatever, graduation, half graduation or whatever. But they didn't know which way I'm heading. They didn't have any clue which way then I'm heading. Till in 93, I opened up a paper and I saw an advertisement that a company is needing some marketing guys. And it was the previous company who I worked for. I went for an interview. I just wanted someone to give me a hand to start something. Looking at the experience, what I had was running the business, not even doing the jobs, because we never did job for anyone. Because we come from typically the farming and business family. So I said, anyone gives me, and then I'll make it big. So it was very clear in mind. So that's when the family who I worked for, I was interviewed, I got a job, And when I got an appointment, they said, you have signed, you have not even seen how much we are paying you. I said, whatever is there, it is, I think, enough for me to at least start something in my life. And I still remember, and it is still in my record, it was 1,800 rupees, Indian, with plus allowances or whatever. It was summing up to 6,000 rupees. So that's what I started my life with. And that 13th of December 1993 till now, I have not looked back. And that is what changed the whole. And I think this is a platform where I should actually thank them, who gave me a platform to build the business for 22 years. Not for a professional. Not many people stay in a corporation for 22 years and then you build up. I didn't know that I will do that, but yeah, till I was there till 2013.
Could you just share with us some of your insights, your learnings during that early phase? Because you took on a family business, and you took on that business in a fast-moving consumer goods industry. You were selling, it was the Supermax business, and you were selling more blades than Gillette at one point in time.
Yeah,
how does one do that?
When I started, I didn't know what it is, but the family had large business in India. In fact, they dominated at some point of time the Indian razor blade market. There was no one. Till in 1992, when our ex-Prime Minister and that time Finance Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, he opened up the economy. And that is when the first competitor actually came into India, which today is pretty big there, Gillette. And they set up the shop there. I think at that time, the second generation of the family, which was internationally located, they felt that they need to move out so that the risk will be even, because if they stay there and have that 90% share, at some point of time they're going to lose something. So to cover that, at least they have got outside. But outside, I think in 92, most of us would know, and we come, the majority of us here sitting are coming from the same country. There was no brand building concept. There was no one. It was what in our country, and it is today also. Not that we have changed so much. We wanted to manufacture the product and sell it. There was no way we could have gone out and build the brand. And first thing was, the other company is bigger than us, we can't compete. That was the first psychological, and then especially when we come from India. So to break that barrier, the second generation was very clear that we want to build it. So it is not me, it is first, as a professional, you have to understand the other side of it, which way they want to go. And then you can lead that. But the direction was very clear, we want to make it big. And that's where we started. And I went to England, where the second generation, they were all living there, and that is when they assigned me within 6 months to come to this country and start the business, and that's what I did.
We'll come back to that later, but one of the key things that Ajay wants us to get deeper into is the whole heart and philosophy of entrepreneurship, which is part of what all of us are doing. So they've kindly developed a very comprehensive presentation for us. And so how would you describe an entrepreneur? Because you have a couple of great examples. One is a dreamer, the other is a rebel. What are you?
I think you have to be the dreamer first,
yeah,
because unless you don't dream, you never achieve it. And in dream also, unless you don't dream big, it never happens. It never happens. And that, I think I have seen that very closely in my life.
So let me take you back to 1992. You came to Dubai, sitting in Jebel Ali, in a little warehouse, and you went to Murshid Bazaar, and you were selling your little blades and your bits and pieces and your boxes. How big were you dreaming at that point in time?
No, to answer this question, I have a very live example here. live example here.
Okay.
And when you listen maybe 2 minutes to him, he will describe that, and then you go to that, what you correctly said is how you may, become more, you sold more razors than someone else.
Yeah.
I want to, Ajay, he, you know what, because you said Murshid Bazaar. He was our first client. Hamid, he has been most of the life he has spent here. He was, ये मेरे ख्याल कितने आप साल होंगे जब आप यहाँ आए हुए? 35 साल इनको
35 years.
And he was running a large wholesale business, which was owned by the Attar family, Khalid, the Attar family. They had the real estate or whatever, but he was running their FMCG business in Murshid Bazaar in Irani market. And he was my first client. And नहीं आप बताइए, वो अबरा से जब हम आते थे आपके पास और डिस्को चाय पीते थे 50 पैसे की.
I'll translate.
Yeah,
they used to cross over from the Abra and they used to have disco tea for 50 fils. And that's how they started.
And he used to tell me at that time that if you want to make it big, honestly, that's what I'm saying. Learning, today also, a person like me will learn from all of you, because I think one person is not perfect till you are in this world. So I have learned so much from him. When I used to sit with him next to his small chair, there was hardly any stool to sit. You should do this, you should do that, you should do this, you should do that. And couple of years we ran a very large business, and he helped me there to export the commodity to wherever we could. So that is when we created the business, because just imagine you had to take the goods, send the money back. It was not what marketing you do. And that time, he was the guy who was giving me millions of dollars, not small money, and he trusted me. सही बात है? कभी सोचा था आपने कि इतना बड़ा ब्रांड हो सकता है?
कोशिश करना पड़ा आपने.
हाँ?
बाकी देने वाला ऊपर वाला सब.
नहीं, बट जब हम आपके दुकान पे जाते, आप क्या बोलते थे मेरे को कि कैसे काम करो? हाँ?
बोला सो खुला ओपन काम करो, हार्ड वर्क करो सब.
और सबको नहीं दे दो, जो देना है बड़े
एक चीज एक आदमी को देना.
He actually taught me that, and that is one of the major factors, He said very clearly, he said, if you want to make it big, don't go to everyone. Give it to one, even if it is small. Build this up, build this up, build this up, and one fine day you'll see that. And actually, that was one of the learnings which he actually, I was not believer first, because I said, you sell to everyone and then everyone sells it. But no, he said, do it once. And the same thing happened, and we created that thing, and the volumes went maybe 20 times than what we were selling. So in way, I have learned from him. Barabar?
बहुत शुक्रिया.
And this is my life. That is where I started my life from. Exactly Abra, Murshid Bazaar, and up to 160, 100 and whatever number of countries where we sold the
Lovely story, sir, because I think this is what the essence is wonderful people like Hamid Saab. They are the heart and soul of what Dubai is. They're the heart and soul of where businesses are built. And thank you for recognizing and acknowledging him, because a lot of people forget on the way up. So thank you for that. I personally find it extremely moving. Thank you. So, moving on, crazy people, big dreamers. So, when you met Hamid Saab, did you actually say, I'm going to, sell these things? Did you actually think that? Because I want to know how a brain works. Because it must be a different DNA.
No, I mean, when we had to actually, see, what happens when you are doing business in one country, then you want to explore the business in the rest of the world. You need a very different thinking for that and how you want to go about it. It is not that you want to just sell, You got to plan it out. Everything, the business is all a big plan, If you're if you're sure about, in this country I've sold it, consumers have liked it, The product is doing well. There's no, typically you have tested and tried it in one country. Then, and I don't know still, I am not getting answers for a lot of people, why would you focus then in a small region? Why wouldn't you go, if it is a global category, why wouldn't you go all over the world? What stops you? And that is what, what we did is, it's not that you look at, it is up to you whether you want to look at a region or a continent or a globe. It's in your mind. It is not someone is going to tell you you do so much. It's all up to you.
Let me challenge
how much
you
you want to do.
Let me challenge you on that. He said, focus, stay with one. And you said you focused on that. And suddenly, you go regional, continent, and globe. That's not focus. That's diversification.
What he said, he was not, no. He said, wherever you, no. What he said is, wherever you go, sell to one person.
Okay.
So he didn't, he said, give it to one person. Give it to one, rather just giving it to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay? Just give it to one, even if it is small.
Build loyalty, in other words.
Build loyalty.
Absolutely. Okay. In these two wonderful, amazing people up there that are icons, entrepreneurial icons, what are the qualities in each one of them that you really admire, which are there in you?
See, these few guys, when I said, as I said, I'm still on the ground and there's no, but you have few people in your life where I read about them. I'm not a great reader, but yes, these guys have made it big, and you basically pick what have they done. And I think when you look at Steve Jobs, he was not a great student. He was not a great, typically who will read.
Neither of them graduated, by the way.
So it was all about a great big idea.
Yeah.
Can I make something different? Can I give world something different which someone doesn't have? And work on that. And there were critics for him. He failed once, he failed twice, and third time he made it happen. Richard Benson, what he did is risk. Okay, I play a big risk. Read is all hot balloon stories and, continent to continent. So he never even thought one fine day he will not be there, what he is doing. So basically you have picked up from each one of them just one point and then implemented a risk. Without risk, you can't be an entrepreneur and you can't make it big. But a calculated, in my life, a calculated risk is always better than a complete risk.
Let me engage the audience. How many people actually go out there and take big risks in their day-to-day business life? That's not much. Everybody else is playing it safe. What are you doing here? Just enjoying and spectating with people who do. No, but seriously, in the entrepreneurial space, if you're not taking risk, and like you said, measured, calculated risks, what's the downside? You end up just becoming flat, right?
No, look, everyone doesn't become,
No, I'm not.
Few of them.
That's an extreme example.
If you don't, if you're not a risk taker, don't come into that side of it.
So what's the risk you took?
When I was in corporate or when I'm an entrepreneur?
No, now you're an entrepreneur, now you're taking risks. But when you started...
Even at that, I never, maybe I was running a lodge, or I created a business, but I always felt in 22 years, it was always my own business. I never actually felt, that's another side of the story. 22 years, how many people, we can count them, how many people work, there are people, 35 years, 20 years or whatever. If I have my career, I've just worked for one company. The risk there is that if you don't make it what other side is expecting because you're working for someone, okay, the maximum what they will tell you, leave the company. The higher side of this is if you make it big for them, you're going to go to the next, and they will make sure that you're there, okay, for long.
Yeah.
So I think it is not, that gets me to the other point, which is the money. I think most of when we work, we have at some point of time on back of our mind how much money we make. Okay, if other company gives me X, can I make? That's one thought process. Not that I'm saying that's not right, but I think in my life, it was all about in 23 years or 22 years. I don't know when was the time when I went to the management and said, give me an increment.
Fast forward to I mean, there are a couple of other very interesting people up there as role models and icons of business and entrepreneurship. You speak about desire.
Yeah, I mean,
where's that passion and the desire?
Now when it comes, you know, I think most of us want to be at some point an entrepreneur. It's a very fancy word, but
yeah,
now
cool.
everyone uses it. But, you know, I mean, everyone can go out and become an entrepreneur, but one has to really understand when we talk about entrepreneurship, what does it mean end of the day? Why you want to be an entrepreneur? Why you want, you know, I mean, why you want to take, if it's a risk, you know, kind of a thing you have to take, why would you take that? I think that brings, you know, it's my own lines which I use in my life is desire. You know, you cannot do anything when you want to start something unless you don't have that yellow word in you. I mean, nothing happens with that.
I use passion, but it means the same thing.
It's, closer to that. Yeah. I mean, you know, passion is you can be passionate about anybody. You know, when you really set it up, desire looks much better word than the passion.
Okay. You have some other elements of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I mean, anyone, you know, as I said, at some point of time in our heart or in our life, that entrepreneur is hidden inside. You know, even if we work for large corporates, very important. What do you want to do? You know, I want to become an entrepreneur, that's great, but what do you want to do? That's where the idea comes in. What is an idea? Now, is it idea that you want to really start something completely different, or what you're used to do, you will first look at that, what you're good at. That's very important. Calculated risk. Passion comes part of what you say desire. Vision. How big you want to make it. No one is going to come and tell you that this is, you know, it is you who will set the rules up because you are starting business from one person, and that's you who want to be an entrepreneur. So how you want to, that's very important to have clear vision. And then you have the rebellious trait. So you know, these are few words when you start this entrepreneurship, very important, keep in mind.
It's interesting you talk about rebellious streak because one of the people up there, Steve Jobs, was extremely rebellious. I'll just share a little story about Steve Jobs, and I always find it fascinating. They did a survey about mobile phones, and just go back to the year 2000, 2002. And they did a survey of what you want in a mobile phone, and they did a focus group. And the focus group said, we want better batteries, we want a screen that we can work with, we should be able to send SMS, it should be cheaper, it should be lighter. Those were the kind of things that came up. And Steve Jobs actually did the exact opposite with the iPhone. It was actually more designed than telephone. In the early days of the iPhone, it didn't sound that, I mean, the voice quality wasn't very good. It created their own operating system, so it wasn't integrating with anything else. But he created something completely unique and completely different. And I think that is part of what that rebellious streak is about in entrepreneurship, is having that belief that I'm going to do something completely different and I will succeed. And I think that's a nice segue into coming back to you, is what are the kinds of products you rebel against or find little niches and little gaps and say, it hasn't been done, but that doesn't mean I can't do it differently.
Yeah, I mean, I'll you know, when we move ahead, there's a good case study which I put here. You know, trust me, and we can discuss about this, there's not even a difference. You change the concept and you can see millions of dollars in front of you. I mean, it is there. I mean, you see it's in your day-to-day life, and you have seen this brand, and you know, what have you done? I'll tell you the whole story.
Case study
of
one?
That, yeah.
Case study one right behind you.
No,
right.
it is, after this, there's case.
Okay.
I'll go there. Before, you know, I think we talked about, you know, we started entrepreneurship, and, you know, I'll go back a little bit on the corporate side of it. A company with zero technology, there's no technology in their product. With zero factory, they don't own a single factory in the world, or they may be still, but 99.9% they don't own. They don't have an HR in the company. You know, when you said HR mentoring the people, nothing. And they are today more than $10 billion company, headed by now an Indian CEO, Rakesh Kapoor in England. And today it is trading in London Stock Exchange and New York Stock Exchange, the high, and growing 10 to 12% on an annualized basis. No technology. What they're looking at is, look at one side Unilever, Giant, Procter & Gamble. They're in between, looking at the product, but just giving a niche, a service, maybe a touch to the product, which consumer feels is different, and they just make money. It's a completely marketing and supply chain run company, pure supply chain and marketing, nothing else. And they are making inroads today now into the healthcare. They have the household, very large company, and we have got few slides on them, and a lot of, you can see these household brands. It was all around when you go to the supermarkets and see it. And that is called, and these are owned by them. What I said is, today they have the power brands like Vanish, Dettol, and if you see the planograms, how clearly they are planogrammed in any, whether it is any format of the trade, how they do the typically guerrilla marketing. They basically look at the consumer centric, which consumer they have to hit. Is it the household lady? Is it the person who is in the office? They actually do that, and they have these, the entrepreneur driven guys who they call the top 400 executives in the world. They run the company. Above them, there is no one. Below them, they have 23,000 people, but those top 400 people run the whole world. A very different dynamic approach towards the FMCG business. And if anyone is really starting or setting up any FMCG business, look up to them. They're a great company to look up to. Not that, Procter & Gamble or Unilever are not great. They are great, but they are too big. There are systems, there are, because the older generation company, but this is the youngest kid on the block. And one is look up to them. If you can go to the next.
So, is it about creating that entrepreneurial culture? Is that their barrier to entry? Because you say marketing and supply chain, this is commoditized. Anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Large companies can do it.
That's what I'm saying.
So what's that difference?
See, difference is the kind of amount they would spend on R&D, what others are doing. You see, this is written there. They are not spending huge amounts, billions of dollars on R&D. What they are spending is what is not right there in the market, which consumer is not getting a right message, whether it is a brand, it is a product, it is a marketing. So they don't spend that. What they do is they save the manufacturing because they do the third-party manufacturing. So there is no liabilities on the manufacturing from them. Supply chain is normally anyone. What they spend is basically in the communication. How would this consumer understand what is this product all about? They make it very simple for consumer. And if you make it simple for consumer and you don't make it rocket, you are there. So they don't have any other costs. If you look at it from a liability side, any bigger companies, they have the factories, they have the workers, they have the, thousands and millions of people.
Yep.
They have hardly any people.
Okay, cool. Another one was fog deodorants.
Now I'll come to this. How many of would you know this brand today? Okay, thank you. How many of you in here would have heard this brand like 2 years back? None. It's just 3 years there, 2 or 3 years. What happened? Today market cap in India of $450 million. Still he is not selling it. He is not selling it. A great innovation, but simple innovation. He didn't do anything. He doesn't own the factory. Darshan Bhai doesn't own the factory. He is still running the business. He picks up a phone, talks to the dealer in Mumbai and says, I'm sending you 100 cartons. You have to keep it, and you don't have to keep X. Okay? What he did is innovation. In India, there was no deodorant market, I mean, 5 years back. People still used to, I still remember, in terms of the deodorant, the normal people will apply it on the clothes because it's more fragrance for them than a body odor. This guy understood it, that what I have to give, okay, where Indian consumer clearly understands. Number one was, we are very conscious how much we spend. So he actually started putting 1,200 shots of deodorants on a can. And then he said, bina gas wala spray. So there was no aerosol. So he said there is no air in it, so hawa, which is bina gas wala. So it's all perfume, okay?
So he wasn't even selling air, he was just selling...
He said very clearly. And what he did is, the same can, the same cap, which basically cost you hardly anything. He just changed, he just twisted it for the consumer. Spend money on marketing. Where does the money come from? He's a money man because he sold his old company and, but he never invested his own money. What he did is, he called all the dealers in India, said, I have a great product coming up. Okay, deposit, if you want a C&F and distribution, deposit 2 crores, which is $400,000. And then I will, because of the history, he collected 20 crores of rupees, which is $5 million. Stock was done, the manufacturing was done in Aurangabad. I know the factory very well. The cans were also manufactured locally. He just assembled it, sold it, and he booked media for first 3 months. Okay, 13 crores of rupees, which is approximately $300,000, $3 million. He pumped media, changed the completely, every TV channel was showing fog. What he did is he changed the concept of the consumer. And today, fog today has taken over #1 position in the Indian market, and X is actually #2. Imagine how much effort he did. It was all mind game what he did. And today, he has a market cap of $450 million. How much he invested? Zero. He didn't even invest his own money. He doesn't have a factory. It is just one good, bright idea. And you will see next 1 year, X will take it over, he'll pay him. They'll be, because obviously they want to be in the market. I mean, Unilever will not let him run it for more. But he will move out of the $1 billion and invest in something else. This is called entrepreneurship. Darshan Bhai, today also when he comes here, or when you interact with him, he is as good as any normal guy. He can go have lunch in one of the small Indian restaurants with him. He talks to the dealer himself. He talks to the supplier himself. No big corporate, no supply chain directors and managers, nothing. He calls himself, buys himself, manufactures himself, and sells himself. And he has $1 billion in his pocket today. Very simple, nothing. It is deodorant. It is not Apple phone. So it's all about a thought. It is not that when you start the business, when I have interacted in the last 2 years, when I started business, the first question which most of the people asked me, what are you doing? That was first. And second was, who's your investor? I didn't really understood it. What do you start? Yes, I will do what I have done. Who's your investor? Who's your investor? But what is the business? What do you want to start with? That is the first. So I think entrepreneur, when anyone who wants to be, he has to know what he wants to build, where he wants to build, how he wants to build, where he wants to go before the money comes in. Otherwise, in most of the cases, the money comes in, the guy doesn't know what he wants to do, and out of 100, 80 basically guys fail and 20 make it. And that's what the ratio is today.
So how do you get it right?
Okay, now, this is not anyone's philosophy. This is what I have learned in my life. And what, by building up these continents, going around in the markets and understanding how the FMCG business works, and especially if you're not a big corporate and you have set it up from ground. So these are all ground rules which most of us would know, but what happens is a lot of people, when they set up their businesses, they get somewhere out of 10, 2 wrong, 1 wrong, or they skip. But business is not about skipping the ladder. You have to do every point. You have to go through this journey. It's painful. You know, I mean, people tell me, what are you jumping into the same category? Oh my God, it is so competitive. There are people. I said, yeah, but you know, if I build up something, how difficult it is for me to build up something else now. But as long as you go through this nice layer, the steps, these are called footsteps for any business. Very clearly, the idea, the concept, market knowledge, feasibility, pricing, R&D, manufacturing, supply chain, right team, distribution, marketing, customer service. In any business, it is not only FMCG, you have to get it right at some point of time. And then what we have done is, we have just elaborated it a bit in the next slides, but you know, I think we can have that, but you know, we should talk about before we go to that, because otherwise it will become a boring subject.
Okay.
How would an entrepreneur today who is there, who wants to set up a business, how would that person do it? Okay, this is a nice theory, what you can, but practically how would you do that? And that is what the Classico will come into place. Yeah.
So we'll then move forward very quickly to Classico, because this is all very generic stuff, and but I think it's about execution. It's about going through it methodically, which is, you know, your 10 points, and a lot of us don't have the discipline, and even myself, I may do 7 of those things right, but if I miss out on 3, and then I wonder what went wrong. Actually, what went wrong was I missed 3. What is it in one sentence?
The thought was very clear. When I moved out of the cushy life where I used to get a salary on 30th, I used to get a bonus. There were a couple of drivers, there were assistants, 2,000 square foot office only for me, so people, I don't know how many of them, and there are a lot of my ex-colleagues who are here. I think it was all about what do you want to do? And why I want to practically talk about it, because I have been through this in 18 months myself. So creating something big and then going back to the drawing board and saying, I want to do it again. Sometimes it is tough. You don't know whether you will be successful or you know, you can't make it happen. The first thought came in my mind, I'm not going to sell any rocket. I'm not going to sell any cars. And not, you know, if I have done FMCG business, I would like to be in the FMCG arena. The second thought which came in my mind was, where will the money come from? Obviously, when you want to, because the desire was to make it again global business, not to do business in UAE or in GCC. I didn't, obviously, I mean, how much we'll make out of, you know, whatever. And third thing was, who will work for you? Because this is very important, that what will you do, where will it come from? Because you can't build up a factory where your capital investment will be $100 million to start with. Then again, the investor comes into. One thing was very clear when I traveled across the world, I saw so many factories in the world who were idle. The capacities were idle. They have taken the bank funding, but they couldn't produce as much as they have taken the funding. So one thought was very clear that I don't want to build any factory. And that also came from Reckitt Benckiser model. If they don't have a factory, why would a small guy who is starting an entrepreneurship life, why would you start with a factory when there is so much of capacity available? Number two thought, if I don't build up a factory, who will give me the stock to sell? You have to manufacture it somewhere. How would you do that? Then the working capital comes in. So if you want to build up a $100 million company, you need at least $20 million in your pocket to at least go to these guys and buy the stock. So you have no money. then it was people who eventually, when you get it done, who is going to be with your team? Maybe in your corporate life, you had more than 4,000 people. How will you hire these 4,000 people? But unless you don't have them, how would you go out and make it global? So I think 6 months, I was debating it all about with myself and my few colleagues who obviously wanted to become entrepreneur at that time. They wanted to leave this cushy life. And so we built up a model which in 18 months, we can see success now coming up is we tied up with the manufacturers globally. Not large ones, but the people who build the factories, knowing that someone will come and buy it from me. And maybe a couple of them came and, we went to them and said, okay, we need this, but we will control the R&D, we'll control the whatever innovation we need. You will only manufacture for us. So what we did is we gave a small stake in our company to them. So at some point of time, I knew in this manufacturer's mind who doesn't have a brand, he always wants to build up a brand, but he can't do that because he has never done it. He has always produced for the large people, okay? But he always wanted to have that pie of the brand where he feels that at some point of time, that can give me a value. So we gave a small stake to these guys and said, you are selling to your own company. You're not selling to me. You're selling to your own company. Give me a 90 days period. Okay, I'll turn the goods. And my life has revolved around, I've never sold anyone credit. And that gentleman who is there will vouch for it. So you give the first money and then whether it is a $1 product or it is a $100 million product, no credit. Give me a secured instrument. Is it a LC? Is it cover? It is insurance? It is whatever it works, but I'll not give an open. Even if I'm small, I've started a business small, or I started a business at that time small. Zero bad debt. So you will cover it up. Cover with any instrument. I'll give you a credit, give me a LC. I'll cover it up, give me an insurance cover, but I'll not give you an open credit. So your payment is secured. So you're getting 90 odd days from there. So you have a negative working capital actually, which you are working on. That sometimes we go wrong when we said, oh, I want to hire him, but I have only 20. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to make it big, but I don't want to pay him. But why wouldn't you pay him? Then you will not get it right. But then share it. But I don't want to still share it. Then how would you make it big? Those 10 points are, I can share the presentation. You can, everyone can take it. But if you see those 10 points are very important. If you don't have right people, you can have people. And he understands whole of Russia, whole of CIS, whole of Eastern Europe. Someone else who is sitting today in one of the countries understands whole of Latin. Someone sitting in Europe, in Geneva, understands whole of. So we collected the top 7 VPs, which I knew obviously in my life. They always wanted to be the entrepreneurs in their life. We shared the dice. Someone who is sitting in India, he's heading India now, worked with me for 18 years. I want to come. Now, imagine being a CFO, because he sees everyone is going to make money. The question was, I want to be your CFO, but everyone makes money, and at the end of the day, what will I make? Give me also vision. I said, okay, you have done the commercial, this thing. Okay, what can you do? He said, I have, he speaks Bahasa. He speaks the Far Eastern language because he was based there in Perfect. He said, I will become, because I've done the commercial, because there's money, because everyone saw money at the end, not at the beginning. So it was very clearly defined how. And under them, they collected another 100 people down the line. We have my CFO, I make sure he gives me end of the day a P&L and a balance sheet every month, rather a year, end of the year. So all the compliances, whatever you want to do, you put in, but we still enjoy that it is our company. That is what is called entrepreneurship in my language. It's all about how can you then make it. Okay, you have set the systems up, You have set up the global platform, and now how will you execute it? You have all the remedies there, everything you have put in. And that's why a lot of people got surprised in 18 months. He said, how could you do that? I said, for me, it was very simple. As long as I could gather everyone together, and now it is implementation. Every month we open up, 6, 7, 8 countries. It's all supply chain. It's moving towards it. And what are you going to do this year? I said, maybe we'll close at $100 million. Can you do this? I said, yeah, this is the plan, if you can share.
So zero to $100 million in a year.
But, honestly, we have not approached any bank. We have not even bankers have, we have not that I have bankers here. But, in Dubai, you need, first is 3 years company. Okay, even if with my name or whatever, you still have to finish 1 year and show them that what you have done before you go to the banker and say, can you give me some? So you were very practical about it. I mean, it was not all about I was the CEO of the earlier company and then banks will come, and yes, I have dealt with most of the banks here. They'll come and hug me. No, it's all about tangible numbers. What are you doing and why should I give you? Put your collaterals there. What do you will put collaterals? You are in a rental accommodation here. What collaterals you will do?
So I've identified a few things, Ajay, a few real nuggets from here. One of them is shared economy. The whole world is moving into a shared economy. You have companies like Airbnb and various others who are also creating new business models and stuff. Number one. Number two, sharing equity. In other words, basically building abundance. I think that is another thing I'm picking up. Third is you obviously have built your credibility as a CEO, as a successful CEO, and that is why people are coming towards you. So you have to build credibility and reputation. Fourth, you have a formula, which has been successful in the past, and now you're really just taking that formula and expanding it. And last but not the least, I'd like to share is I think you're a very good psychologist.
I think
you actually understand human nature, and that's the key to me. Everything else is fine, but that's the key.
My people tell me that we don't want to see you in the office because you have to get out and sell because you are the best salesman.
Yes.
So, I think, yeah, that's the right compliment, because end of the day, what trade or what business we are in, we don't sell rockets. Again, I'm going back, we just sell FMCG, which is a clear category. Everyone wants this product. You can't live without a toothpaste, with a toothbrush, with a razor blade, with a deodorant. You need this. Yeah. And this is on your day-to-day life. So we are not, and we said about risk playing.
Yeah.
I don't think we are really playing that big risk, because I think we are in a domain where we feel we can still manage it.
You mentioned a very interesting brand and a story that you had. And it's a fascinating story, and I'm sure he'll share it with much more flavor than I would.
Execution. You can talk about, you can meet people, today, the life is all about execution. You can get the JVs done, you can take the product, but if you can't execute them, the product remains in your warehouse. It's another study which I think in this innovation, which most of the large companies, McKinsey and Bain and BGC, they have actually done. On an average, if you innovate 100 products in a year, 86 don't even move out of the warehouses. Only 14 reach to the market. That means those products are not bad, or they are not innovative, or they are not, because of lack of execution, they fail. You go to any trade exhibitions, I don't know how many trade exhibitions happens in Dubai, and you go every trade exhibition, you see them from trade to trade, but you don't see them in the market. And end of the day, they basically start selling it through the trading channel and whatever, can you buy me, whatever. But there is no that brand building concept, can I just build it up, because they fail in execution. Why they fail in execution? Because most of the people, they love to spend money on R&D, and I've got so many examples on that, R&D, factory, everything. But when they have to execute, then they start, oh, do I pay this guy so much? No, but I can't afford him. Okay, if you can't afford him, how will you open it? No, but I'll take some junior guy. Okay, you take him, but he doesn't give you what you want. So when you have invested $10, $20 million on a project, why wouldn't you keep at that time $5 million buffer, to take the right people who can execute it? And that is a psychology which I have seen a lot of smaller companies when they want to build. No, I want to do everything on my own. But how would you do it on your own? No, but I want to save this money also. I want to save this because why should I pay 50,000 dirhams to this guy? But because he is getting you to what you want. How can you do it? It is too costly. It is not cost. It is, you have to either, the model which you have to get the right, the moment you have got the right product, right channel, right raw material for it, why would you not spend on execution, which actually makes end of the day money for you? So I think these were practical experience which we at least experienced in the last 18 months, because we set up a business, we made it large. We have still a long way to go. We have another few years till we, but these few basic things what we did really worked for us.
Thank you. What I think we'll do is open it up to the audience a little bit for some questions, and then we can dip back into the presentation, sure. Any of the brands that you want to do.
Thank you for the fascinating story. My name is Anas and I'm from Dubai Career Clinic. Away from entrepreneurship and the successful ingredients that you have shared, my question is, you've got so much to share with us and with the whole world. You have started a tweet 4 years ago, and that was it. What happened after that? We want to see you on Twitter and on social media, actually, where you can share people. You can share with people those successful stories. I have listened to your talk with Shane Phillips 2 years ago, and I still remember most of it.
Shane is a good
what about others who are not listening to Shane Phillips? Thank you.
See, guys, no more sales. Don't push me.
Yeah, because if he's selling, he's not tweeting. Why don't you get your colleagues to start tweeting on your behalf? That's what all great people do.
I'll have
they have teams behind you tweeting away.
Ajay, my name is Harish. First of all, thank you very much for sharing your very inspiring story. I was into FMCG for almost 30 years, in my family business. So this event is really very inspiring for me. My question to you is that I'm not doing FMCG now, but if I still have a lot of passion for it, if somebody had to do it all over again, because things change very rapidly nowadays, what advice would you give them sitting in a very, very highly competitive market? The Fog story was really inspiring, It's just a twist of change in idea and...
Just take the gas out, that's it.
Yeah. And also, one more thing. After 22 years in corporate, what was in your mind, what made you take that decision to move from that to become an entrepreneur? When you had, I think at the stage where you were at a very, very comfortable position.
Number one, when it came to my mind corporate and leaving, that business was very close to my heart. It is not, again, it was very, in fact, when people came to know about that I have left that company, a lot of people called me and said, what have you left? I said, my company. He said, oh, we thought you owned it. I said, you have to go back to Google and, I always said, maintained that I was not a partner, I was not a shareholder, I was a CEO who was running the company, but yeah, it was very close to my heart. But a lot of people perceived that, I'm part of the family, and which was always, obviously, the love and then the affection they have given me, and they have really mentored me. I cannot even forget it all my life. But at some point of time, you have in your life that you want to do something new. You want to do something for yourself. You want to do something for your next generation. You want to do what you always, okay, you have done 20 years or whatever, you've taken round of the world in these 5 continents. You have seen so many things, but you're so obligated towards one focused thing, and you can't do anything else, because that is where the CEOs or the VP or any other employee who comes, we are very, very thorough when we work for someone. We cannot divert ourselves towards something else. And it was not making any justice to them or to me that if would have started something else on the side. So that was not really. So at some point of time, and before I wanted to get into 40s, it was like, you're entering 40. you do it now or you'll never do it. So it was a very, very conscious decision. And most of my friends, when they heard about it, they said, you have done a stupid job, because it was a great life. It was everything, you were there was no need of doing that. But then I had to go back to the drawing board. The first 6 months were a bit tough to really, the mind games, the games playing in my mind, whether it was a right decision, wrong decision, right decision, wrong decision, but ultimately you knew that what do you want to do. Okay, it took 6 months. Okay, I got out of it. And we started back from the same life where I started 20 years back. And it was again going back first to the same Murshid Bazaar, okay, and requesting the same people that, look, I've started my life back, okay, I've given everything up. Now, first I want to make sure that I earn so much where I can be stable. That can only happen, I cannot build business. And so we went back, we make sure that we provided whatever it is, and that is where again, because of your credibility own, they opened up the arms, whatever you want, we are there for you, okay? So that was the first day. And you structured it in a way that in 6 months, you actually came back there where you left it. So it's a very psychological, so that means in next 6 months, you clearly understood that, okay, I've not lost anything, because what you are earning, you have that in your pocket now. Okay, so your family is secured, you are not exposing anyone, and then next 20 years is all about upside. So whatever you do, it's upside. So I was like a kid then, went around in the world and said, I want to do this, 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 because at the back of your mind, you are clear that your risk, what you took, is clear now. There's no more risk. Everything what it is now is what will you do in next 20 years. And that was, yes, but that 6 months to a year, there was a lot going on in the mind as an entrepreneur.
Thank you, Ajay, for very intriguing and engaging conversation in the presentation. My name is Deepak. I run a creative marketing agency by the name of Banana, and I love to create concepts. And one of the other sides of me is to break the rules, like you break the blades. I have a question. When you launch a new concept, is it your gut feeling that you go for, or you test market it first?
I tell to my distributors, people, marketing agencies who come and they said, oh, consumer, I said, I really engaged a great company, consumer research, 400 people, they tried it. Oh, wow, we really create something, but out of 100 times, 99 times, it's my gut feeling. But yes, sometimes it has helped me till now. I don't know in future how, but yes, most of the time, because consumer, when you go the consumer research or whatever, you have to spend money, and we don't have money to start with. So at some point of time, yes, when we become bigger, we'll use the research companies.
The last question from me was positioning. You position a lot of your products in the middle of the pyramid. And for people who are aspirational and want to go up. Is that been your secret sauce?
I call that as a sweet spot, okay? You have a huge trading going down, and you cannot compete. That's where I think most of the guys, when they were talking competitive, you just can't be competitive, because it's
commoditized.
They manufacture, they are the manufacturers, they make it for 70 cents, they sell it for 75 cents. Where will you come in between? So you cannot be in that market. At the same time, you have then the biggie guys. So in between you come in, there's a nice sweet spot where there's an aspirational consumer who is ready to change, but you have to give something, as we said, different. You can establish yourself on the shelf. It will not be, the offtakes will be as big as, even if it is slow, steady, but what you have to make sure is that you also are not going too much away from the concept. It's all about, you have to have money then. If you want to create a new concept, you have to have upfront money. But if you're there, give it a differentiation, place it nicely, merchandise it, let the consumer, it's all dikhta hai, in our language. Jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai. Whatever we can see, it sells. So that's very important. These are very, very, normal things when you work on an FMCG business. So if you see, Yeah, it's my range. So, La Brisa. It's a nice bright color and whatever, and all of a sudden in the next 2 years, everyone will say, oh, ice is Ajay Bindroo's brand. Yeah, but you know, what is ice? Ice is just a name, you know, where three-worder, everyone will understand it. What does it come from? It comes from Classico. Classico ice, nice bright color. You know, I mean, we start with BTL or whatever.
Amazing insights, Ajay. A lot of people are fascinated, surprised. Now they're thinking that I can see people's brains working really, really fast. Certainly mine is. Before I ask my final question, which is always something we do here, what do you tell them? What should they do tomorrow morning? What is your advice to them? Tomorrow morning, they should just go right like this and a whoosh, out of the blocks.
No, honestly, it's all about whoever, I'm not saying that the whole, you know, whoever are sitting here and go and, you know, I mean, everyone has businesses and, you know, I'm hardly, I'm a small guy here, in between. But yeah, I think whoever wants to be an entrepreneur, one take, you will definitely take it from here. If you're confident on your gut feel that this is what is going to take me to the next stage, this is what is going to be right for me, you will definitely calculate these tips, whatever, and then really analyze these tips. Yeah. And that person will be much more confident. He goes out and says, no, I will be more successful if I do everything right and what we discussed than a failure. Because never think when you start a business that it's going to fail. Even if at the end of the day it fails, it doesn't really matter. But 99.9% when you start it, do it right. Don't do any shortcuts. Don't, you know, that later what I'm talking about, make sure that everything is there. Even if a small contract when you start with any company, it's very important. Spend 2,000 dirhams, go through a lawyer. If you want to make a business plan, go through you know, any third party. I'm not saying that, pay whatever it needs, but get it right. Get your figures right. Get your, the evaluation, what you want to do. Get your figures right. Then you start, then the money should flow in. Do not just take 100,000 dirhams, I want to become an entrepreneur, put on the table without any due diligence or without any figures, without any proper benchmarking. Don't do that. That's what I would advise to people. There are very young people who
I can see it. So imagine that this is a time capsule. It's a time machine. And all of us are going to be projected to the year 2050. You'll almost be 80 years old then. So you can just visualize yourself then. What is the story then? What is the narrative 40 years from now?
I first of all thank you. You know, I don't know whether you know it's that long. You know, now because looking at what I have been running and now what I'm going to run for next 10 years, I'll be happy if next 20 years, you know, I can whatever I will build and I can enjoy it. But yeah, you know, 10 years down the line, I don't think my wife doesn't agree on that. He's saying after 10 years also you'll do the same thing. But I think I have a very clear 10 years, do it once more. Make it, if one can make it big. But it is not for myself. It is for people who will be around at that time in next 10 years with me. We share everything what we make. Even if we are today a team of 50 people, at that time it may be a team of 500 people, the large ones. Yeah. Share it. I want everyone at that time looking at it. It was a good idea when we started, and we'll enjoy it rest of the life. It's not me I will enjoy. Everyone within who is going to be part and parcel of it. And
so if is there anything else you want to do? If you were doing a movie, if you were doing a movie, if you were going to create a Bindroo movie, firstly, who's going to play you? And secondly, what is it going to be about?
I don't think I'll do a movie.
No, you should. I think isn't it a great story? I think we should do a movie.
No, two things. Honestly, I haven't, you know, end of the day. I want to really, in next 10 years, share as much as, I think what I have, you know, because I came from nothing in my life. We lost everything and I started my life from zero. And whatever, I have not earned money, but what I have earned in last 22 years is a lot of experience, a lot of insights, what happens, how this world runs. I would like to share it as much as I can for people who will get indirectly or directly benefited with that. Number two is, next 10 years is all about play the big game, enjoy the life, spend as much as time with her. I think she has been there for 15 years, watching me whenever I come home after this thing, but I could spend as much as time I can with my family, because I think family plays a very, very big role in anyone's life, and she has been there, right there. And after 10 years, she wants to go somewhere where we will have a small restaurant, and she will cook and I will serve. So I think if that comes true, that'll be great for her. And I mean, that's what we want to end of the day achieve. I mean, it is not money. Today, I always say, if you have $5 million in your pocket and you're a $5 billion guy, you'll live the same life. So it is not about money, which I'm hunting really for. It's all about making one more time it big, but this time the cause is different. And the playground is very different. And yeah, after that, if I survive after that, then enjoy a little more life.
Super. Ajay, Bindroo, thank you very much. It's been a real privilege.
Thank you very much.